Some Major League Baseball talk around the Daily Diamond Dash right here on this Tuesday morning on the early line on SportsGrid. 12-game slate yesterday to start off a new week in MLB. Biggest game, biggest series potentially in the midweek to begin things here, really into the second month of this Major League Baseball season. The Yankees and the Orioles in the American League East. Two teams we expect to contend for the top spot in the division, maybe the number one overall seed in the American League when all is said and done. Yesterday in Camden Yards for the first game of this midweek set, and the Orioles shut out the Yanks. They blanked the Pinstripes 2-0 yesterday in Baltimore. Grayson Rodriguez, sensational on the bump for Baltimore. And the young Gunnar Henderson, and I mean young, 22 years old, leads off the game for the O's in the home half of the first with his 10th home run of the season. The youngest player at 22 years old, DRS, in Major League Baseball history to hit 10 home runs before May 1st. He does so at the tender age of 22. He turns 23 at the end of June.
Yeah, this team is really good. 1 through 9, that is a fun team. You got some veteran presence in there, but also a lot of really good young talent. And one of those pitchers that we've talked about, at least over the past, let's just say 12 to 24 months, is Rodriguez. He improves to 4-1, Ben, but he hasn't actually been on point technically this year. Now, yesterday, he goes 5 2/3 innings, 5 hits, no earned runs, lowers his ERA to 3.71. If you're getting pitching performances out of the younger guys like this, and I'm not talking about, hey, Ben, he was really good against Kansas City last night. These are the games that you measure up toe-to-toe that even if you're a young pitcher and do well, you save these things for later in the season because you know what? When the Yankees and the Orioles battle in September, maybe in the playoffs, you can reach back and say, remember that night I dominated them at home? And also, it wasn't 42 degrees with the wind blowing in and rain that I was great. It was 80 degrees with the wind blowing out, and I was sensational against that Yankees team. So now you take a look at both of these teams, 18-10 for the Orioles, 19-11 for the Yankees here. Loved what I saw of the Orioles, and also keep in mind, the Yankees did have chances last night. 0 for 8 with runners in scoring position, just couldn't cash in. And you might say to yourself, like, well, that's going to happen on a night-to-night basis. Yeah, that usually gets you beat, let's just say, 6-1 at that point. That was a 1-0 game until the bottom of the 8th inning until you had an error there. So you come through with 1 or 2 base hits with runners in scoring position, the Yankees would have won that baseball game. So I love the way the Orioles won. It wasn't let's just outslug the Yankees here 10-9 and see what happens. A 2-0 victory at home, that sets the pace. A great victory for Rodriguez on the mound. I liked what I saw last night.
Baltimore 0-5 with runners in scoring position. It's not like they generated a ton of offense either. They do get the win. Total was 9 on a warm night in Camden. Stays well under. Baltimore was a slight home favorite, -130 on the money line. So the Orioles now 18-10. Win percentage of .643. The Yankees 19-11 overall. Win percentage of .633. So technically Baltimore a slightly better record, but New York remains the odds-on favorite in the American League East. Also the two best prices, DRS, to win the American League Pennant at this moment. The Yankees, the favorites, +290. Just $2, a little bit over $2 behind is Baltimore. Do you consider these two teams at this current moment the two best in the AL?
I do. I do look at it that way. And also, you're playing in a pretty tough division, so you're going to keep those knives sharp throughout the entire summer. And I don't think anybody's going to run away with this division. So you get an Atlanta Braves effect. Like, hey, last 3 weeks of the season, there's no pressure on us. Then you show up in the playoffs dead to rights because you weren't used to that competition. But also keep in mind with the Yankees, some of their big-time players still going to be on the way, like a Garrett Cole that might be able to dominate if he gets back and is truly healthy for the entirety of the summer. So that's something to keep an eye on. But I'll keep the same energy I had yesterday. Give me the plus money with the Orioles now, and that does include the American League market. You have a +290 on the Yankees, which, again, they're going to be favorites here. That Yankee tax always appears, and also they're a good ball club here. But the Baltimore is at a 5-1 price. I'd rather have the 5-1 price than the +290 price right now. I'll trust the Orioles early in the season, and I'll take that bigger plus money.
It's kind of like the conversation we have with Oklahoma City and maybe Minnesota, but mainly OKC. Number one seed in their first postseason, really together as a core. Can this group perform? It was the same thing we asked last year for Baltimore. Number one seed in the American League postseason bracket. Could they perform? No, they lost in their opening round set, I believe, against the Rangers. And Texas, of course, the World Series champs when all was said and done. We'll go elsewhere around the American League and the AL East. Justin Turner, the new Toronto Blue Jay, having himself a great first season up in the Great White North, and a big Monday for a win for the Jays over the Royals. Plenty of MLB conversation comes your way as we start off hour number 2 live right here on the early line. Join us after the break in just over 2 minutes. DRS, we start in MLB. As I said right before we ended our opening hour to get to hour number 2, Justin Turner. What a start it has been for his first season in Toronto. He hits 2 dingers yesterday to pace the Blue Jays to a 6-5 win over the Kansas City Royals. Toronto was a -164 home money line favorite against KC. JT is batting .317 this year. 2 long balls yesterday, 4 home runs early in this MLB campaign.
Yeah, I mean, you're going up and down that lineup because you need them here. George Springer, .218 on the season. Vladimir Guerrero Jr., .228 on the season. You take a look at some of the other guys. Biggio, .229. I mean, you're not getting those performances that you expected from, not only from a batting average perspective, but a power surge perspective. And you take a look at Turner, who is a veteran now, DHing last night and provides the 3 RBI that you needed. Sometimes you can get lightning in a bottle as an older player. We'll see how long, Ben, it lasts here in 2024. But it's a great start for the Blue Jays. You're getting a lot of value off of Turner. By the way, I always have pet peeves with some players across all sports here. Take the pine tar away from Justin Turner. Do we have to see the back of his jersey completely laced with pine tar because he puts his pine tar bat on his back when he bats? I mean, whoever is the actual clubhouse attendant that has to do that, I wouldn't even wash his uniform ever. How about that?
All right, fair enough. Good point there. 9 years for Justin Turner with the Dodgers. Spent last season in Boston with the Red Sox. This his first year in Toronto. By the way, KC now has dropped 3 in a row. Toronto with the win gets to an even 500 mark of 15-15. These 2 teams faced off last week during the middle of the week in Kauffman in KC. The Royals won 3 of 4 games in that set. JT's former team, that would be the Dodgers, an offensive display yesterday out in the desert. LA wins 8-4 over Arizona. Their 31st game of the year. They are 19-12. The Dodgers have been booked as a favorite in 30 of 31. Yesterday, though, not the longest price you will see on LA, -134. Total of 10 goes over because the Dodgers made the most of their at-bats. They did not strike out. Nobody on the Dodgers recorded a K at the dish yesterday. The first time that has happened this season in Major League Baseball. These stats courtesy of our producer, the stat man, Joe Frizo. The first time the Dodgers as a team have not struck out in a single game in franchise history dating back to 2016. The Dodgers play 8. They win in Arizona.
That's pretty impressive at that point because everybody strikes out. And literally, it's crazy that you don't get a strikeout per inning from your baseball team, let alone an entire game. And we did think there were going to be runs yesterday. This game posted up as a double-digit total, and rightfully so. Paxton coming into this game, the big maple, you're trying to see how he was going to do because his ERA was quite low, but his xFIP number was high. And they got to him here. 5 innings pitched, 4 earned runs. That should be good enough to win if you knock off a starter out in the 5th inning, get 4 runs off him. But also, Henry was okay despite having bad numbers coming into this game, and he wasn't terrible, Ben. 4 innings pitched, 2 earned runs, but it was a bullpen that really gave it up for the Arizona Diamondbacks. That's what happens with the Dodgers. We're now set at 19-12. Not an unbelievably impressive number, but still a first-place number in the NL West. This team will wear you down at bat after at bat. And yes, we're still waiting for some of these guys to really show up this season. But you're getting the young guys there. How about Page's last night? 3 RBI effort, hitting close to 300 on the season here. The Dodgers always seem to blend that good young talent coming up with some of those veterans here that are high-priced. It looks like they're doing it again this year, and rightfully so.
Again, Los Angeles, 7 games above 500, 19-12. The Dodgers, the only team above 500 in the National League West. The Giants have the second best mark. They're a game below 500. The Padres have lost 5 in a row. They're 14-18. The reigning National League Pennant winners, that would be the Diamondbacks, 4 games below 500 as well at 13-17 straight up this season. Low-scoring affair was expected last night in the Northwest. Closing total between the Braves and the Mariners was at 7. we only saw 3 total runs. The Atlanta Braves took an early lead, I guess you could say early, but really in the 7th. Ozzie Albies, an RBI double that scored Ronald Acuna Jr., put the Braves up 1-0. That was the score into the home half of the 9th. But the Mariners walk it off. Mitch Garver, newly acquired this offseason from Texas, 2-run home run, walks it off for Seattle. The M's win 2-1 over Atlanta in the opening game of this series.
Yeah, usually it's the Atlanta Braves doing that type of damage here, being down from behind and closing late and winning these games in extras, because you can usually rely on their bullpen. But you take a look at some of the pitching matchups here, you can't fault the Braves. And even though Strider's down in that rotation, you feel like, oh no, the Atlanta Braves are going to struggle the rest of the way. Fried hasn't been good, but he was great last night. 6 innings pitched, no earned runs, and ERA now at 4.02. It lets you know how good that performance was last night just to get him to around a 4.0. But also, we talked about the total of this game. I thought the Braves would win this. And yes, they're up 1-0 in the bottom of the 9th inning. But we also thought runs might be a little bit tough to come by up there in the Pacific Northwest. And they were. Only 3 total runs in that game. Nice comeback victory for the Mariners, turning the tables on what usually the Atlanta Braves do, Ben, to other teams.
Yeah, absolutely. So it was a pitcher's duel yesterday. Seattle, the money line underdog, wins outright in the opening game of their series. The Mariners playing pretty good baseball. They've won 7 of their last 10 games. Seattle now best record in the American League West, 16-13, 3 games above 500. The Rangers, second best mark for the reigning World Series champions at 15-14. But as you look at the National League Pennant odds, it's still the top 2. The Dodgers plus 180. 40 cents back. The Atlanta Braves in the Phils, that third best number at 7-1. We really, Donnie, expect that to be the case for a good majority of this MLB season, unless something drastic really happens in the National League.
No, you're right. We talk about the shelves, right? You take the first 3 teams, the Dodgers, Braves, and Phillies, markedly better to me than any other Major League Baseball team here in the league. You take a look at the Chicago Cubs, nice team. Cardinals, nice team. Diamondbacks, can they catch lightning in a bottle? But you also have to remind ourselves, the reason why the Dodgers are priced so high at a plus 180 price over the Braves and the Phillies are, yes, there was a lot of bets coming into the Dodgers before the season. Also, keep in mind the Dodgers are in first place here, and nobody out there in the West actually has a record that is above 500. So the Phillies and the Braves will be neck and neck probably through most parts of the summer within 5 games of each other. There's a good chance that the Dodgers, if they stay healthy, can run away with that division. So therefore you say, like, well, why the Diamondbacks 18-1? Just told you that. Because you do, the pricing typically goes, Ben, the higher up the ladder you are, the better pricing you go, which means you win your division. You don't have to worry about the wild card. You're going to be at home for your first round series, even if it's proving that it doesn't make all that much difference over the past couple years. The pricing has to be that way. Dodgers, Braves, Phillies, in that order, it makes sense, and they should be wide favorites over the rest of the field.
You got to double the price and then add $1 to even get to the Cubbies. Yeah. Chicago at 15-1 to win the National League from the Phillies price. The Phils did lose yesterday to the Angels out in Anaheim, but still Philadelphia has won 11 of its previous 14 games. Pitchers duel, as we shared in Seattle. Pitchers duel in Milwaukee as well. The Tampa Bay Rays on the road against the Brew Crew win 1-0. Ross Pepio, or Ryan Pepio, whatever his first name is, Pepio puts together a great performance on the bump. What is it? Is it Ryan or Ross? Ryan.
Yeah.
Ryan. Yeah, Ryan Pepio. A great performance yesterday. Shut out baseball, only allowing 2 hits. The Rays get a win in Milwaukee.
Yeah, it's crazy, too. The Rays get a win. They have 5 runners left on base, which isn't that many. They go 0 for 3 with runners in scoring position and still win that baseball game. That's a Rays game here. And particularly also, we've seen the Brewers break out the bats recently here, which is kind of crazy without Christian Yelich. That's more of a Brewers game, 1-0 here. Hey, by the way, Brewers, even with that loss, still 17-11, having a good season.
And the Cubbies get a win as well, down 1-0, entering the 8th inning. They score twice in the 8th and the 9th to knock off the New York Mets.